Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Symbaroum. We return after a wonky recent schedule. Oh, God, I'm getting an echo. Is anyone else out there getting an echo? Oh, God, just me in my ears. How horrible. Um, so, yeah, hi, Symbaroum, Wednesday nights, telling tales. How are you doing? Good, I hope, in this wonderful cacophony of apocalypses we're living through at the moment. But there we are. Oh, that's a good point from John. Yeah, do I have my Twitch volume on? I do. That would be why. So, as my players shake their heads in despair at me from the bottom of the StreamYard panel, welcome. This is Symbaroum, our flagship series. It's episode 16 of Wrath of the Warden, and in just a few moments, I'll be bringing on the players to do a recap of the events from last time. But first, something even more exciting, folks. It's the promo bit. So if you check down below, there's a bunch of links. There's links to YouTube and to Twitch. You're watching on one. Please check us out on the other. Give us a subscribe or a follow or whatever you do on those platforms. Links to our social media, to our Discord, and to our Patreon. All of those do the things you might expect them to do, and check them out if you're interested. We run 3 weekly series on an ongoing basis, although obviously that schedule's a bit wonky at the moment because we're about to go on a 2-week hiatus for Christmas. But on a regular basis, at least, we have Shadows of Esteren on Mondays. That's going to be kicking off again somewhere near the beginning of January. We have Symbaroum here on Wednesdays, and on Thursdays, we are currently running Cincinnati Chronicles, which is a high concept anthology series of the world of darkness. We're currently on Wheel of the Apocalypse. So, yeah, come check that out. The second episode of that is on tomorrow, and all of our weekly streams start at 8 o'clock p.m. GMT. Yeah. We also have one-shots on the first weekend of every month, the most recent of which was an Alien one, the Alien system from Free League, and was a sequel to our very first one-shot, as a matter of fact. All that is available, I imagine the most recent one is still on Twitch, and they all end up on YouTube, so check those out. There's a lot of different systems, something for everyone to enjoy, from Honey Heist to Morkborg. So, yeah, and I can, in fact, reveal I already revealed the wrong thing last time I talked about this, but our first one shot of 2022 will be the classic RPG Cyberpunk 2020, which you may know in its current incarnation as a terribly reputed video game of Cyberpunk 2077. But Cyberpunk 2020, it didn't have as many bugs on release, I can promise you that. But it did have a lot more ARM-mounted fax machines. So check that out at the beginning of January. We yet to get a firm date, but yeah, join us for that. Okay, enough promo, enough stuff. Let's start wheeling out our players, and we're going to start with Chris this week. Chris, the oldest YouTube ally I have. Fitting that today, the last Symbaroum stream of 2021, that you join me first. That has no significance, but I'm going to pretend like it does. Hi, Chris.
Yeah. Hi. Sorry, I'm just really distracted at the minute because someone has mentioned that there's a role-playing game called Tales of Equestria, which is now...
You didn't know about the My Little Pony role-playing game?
I did not. Yeah, how locked in is the first one shot in January? Because I will literally fight.
You're gonna have to. You can engage in fisticuffs with Sam for it. That's fine. So Chris plays Steo for now, although I'm sure at some point in the future he will play a pony. Steo is a veteran of war, a former city guard, and general curmudgeonly sellsword. Chris, how did we kick off last time?
Well, we after the great party, we got ready to go down the hole. After we went ready to go down the hole for the second time, and the weather was appalling. It was throwing it down, so we made our way across to the hole, and with much less great fanfare, took ourselves down and began to set up. And this time, the tactical perspective was flipped because now no one wanted to stay on the big pile of rubble because it was wet. So we all kind of we had agreed to go and check out the corridors and the old barracks, but we'd also kind of agreed that given what we discovered the last time we went down, perhaps it would be better to set up a kind of relay chain back to a base camp so word could be siphoned up quickly. And that's kind of what we did.
Yeah, that's basically what you did to set yourself up for your final explorations down this sinkhole underneath Thistlehold, and to talk about the first sort of things you found down there, the some of the final remaining things. Let's bring on John. John plays Sir Arindar, final scion of the House of Dar. Well, maybe not final just yet. You never know.
Final that we know about.
Arin could find himself with an heir, but final for now. Yeah. Go on.
I thought you were still introducing me.
No, I'm no. John plays Aaron. We talked a bit about Aaron's nuptials. You know.
So the big hole. We finished investigating the Western Passage that we hadn't had time to explore the day before, and found basically one big room with lots of smaller rooms with lots of beds and personal effects, and it was basically living quarters for a massive quantity of people who were no longer there.
And I mean, debatably no longer people.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, the former Beast Clan, or as they were known years ago, Clan Jazora, who it's becoming increasingly apparent, were never slaughtered completely by the Ambrians, but instead seem to have been living beneath Thistlehold for quite some years. And it sort of beggars belief that no one knew about this. But, you know, I'm sure it's all fine. Moving on, there was one last location to really investigate, and I'm sure nothing bad would have happened there. But to talk about kind of finding that location and the first events there, why don't we bring on Stephen? Stephen plays Alindra, former novice of the Templars, and now, as you all are, sellsword, grouchy sellsword.
Yeah, hi. So I think the main attraction for the second visit down the hole, the main piece of unfinished business was trying to find another entrance towards this underground lake. We had a feeling that there was something out there on the lake. So we went north a bit and we followed a stream southwest a bit, and we came out on this spit of land by the lake. And Elindra's witch sight was pretty insistent that whatever was out there was powerful and probably kind of, not good. The form it took turned out to be kind of an island, which was sort of a crystalline outcrop, a sort of a few paces out into this lake from where we emerged. Yeah, so like a natural feature, but sort of unusual to find there. And there was
very much so.
There was some debate and some back and forth, and I think eventually, reluctantly, with varying degrees of reluctance, I think some of the Auto Magica were quite keen just to stride out there, but we were more hesitant. But eventually, we most of us found ourselves on the island.
On the island, where it was immediately apparent that this was a place of some amount of corruption.
Yes, it was pretty corrupty.
And there was also the question of who was singing on it, because as everyone approached, yes,
that's right. Yeah, we'd heard some singing, and I think we'd seen some wisps of smoke there as well, coming from somewhere in the kind of the interior of this relatively small island.
Absolutely. And to cover the rest of the events, which obviously some people may realize means no Sam tonight. There's no Sam tonight. He hates us, so he decided to quit. No, he's just not available. We will see him again in 2022. But before then, let's bring on Mike. Mike plays Anton, roller of 20s, muter of mics. Mike, the muter of mics. Ironic.
I like it.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, Anton is a Theocoprios, and also a lore master, and it turns out his lore mastery came in quite handy at this point, Mike.
Because we had a big old chat with this witch. We didn't actually get the name of. We didn't ask. We didn't care. Yeah, we had a bit of a chat with her about who she is and what she's doing. She revealed that she's a member of the Jazora tribe. I think she initially thought that we were there to maybe fight her, but she was obviously completely mistaken in that. But it did turn out that she believed that we'd caused the sinkhole to open up, and we sort of struggled to really convince her that wasn't our fault. She told us a little bit about the warm cold of the Isle, the Crystal Isle, that sheltered the Jazora clan and gave them hardiness. She spoke about the leadership of Haliaban's daughter Helianor, and she mentioned that when that sinkhole opened up, most of the clan escaped through the north passageways of the cavern, I guess towards Davakar, where the warriors remained. Yeah, when asked about the island, she said that long ago it was linked to something called the pure magic, but now that it works as a pathway to the eternal night. And yeah, she kind of translated the island as like a blackened power node, and she wonders that we cannot tame it, and it's her home. She offers us the opportunity to leave, and said there would be no reprisal if we didn't return. And we had a quick discussion about what we wanted to do about that. And we decided that sort of in basically following Yugarba's advice, who was there on behalf of Mayor Nightpitch, we should just kill her, basically. So we...
Yeah, I think Yugarba was Yugarba and definitely Athena as well was kind of in favor of, well, let's just see if we can just subdue her and take her away.
Yeah.
But yeah, like she is clearly in control of, at least partly in control of the corruption of this island, and
right,
she's a threat on the doorstep of Thistlehold. So.
Yeah, I think Yugarba's view was like Nightpitch wouldn't want a source of corruption this close to Thistlehold, so we've got to do something about it. So we did something about it, and that caused the witch to get a bit angry and summon some wraiths, and Askarai solves all of the problems by basically one-shotting the witch.
Yeah.
And that was about it.
Yeah.
We left.
Yeah. She was
job well done.
Struck down, mortally wounded in one shot from Askarai. He's getting into a habit of that. And yeah, you departed the Crystal Isle, departed the sinkhole, returned to the surface to a somewhat more muted celebration, largely due to the rain. Yeah, and then I believe the only other thing of note is as you were sort of wrapping up your business around the sinkhole, again, you saw the notorious former treasure hunter Lysindra Goldengrasp watching you from across the other side of the sinkhole. But there we go. That's what happened last time. Very ably summed up by our players there. And we're going to pick up a few hours later. So where do you think that you guys might be, taking some downtime after the events at the sinkhole?
Can we go back to the Witch and Familiar?
I think it's probably time, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
We've been lording it up in all these sort of fancy taverns that have been put on for us, but
sure. So back to the Witch and Familiar you go. As usual, it's got that kind of open seating, moss-covered walls, a few stuffed animals among it, and you're all sat cross-legged around a spread that has been laid out by the tavern keep for you. If anything, even more enamored of having your group stay there. You've now, to his mind at least, saved his tavern, saved the city, and destroyed whatever's down the sinkhole. So you're staying there free of charge for the moment, at least. Yeah. So we have a number of things where we could take this forward, and we had a little chat before the stream about the various different things that are available to you now. And if you don't mind, I'll just do a very, very quick run through of those things so everyone can remember where we are. So there is the sort of side quest surrounding the Queen's Legate, where you're trying to get an appointment with her in order to find out where the key that you found on Anadea's body goes. There is also an appointment that Arindar has with Serix Atio, who seems to have, if not warmed back up to you, at least cooled on his simmering rage enough to be able to sit down to you and perhaps talk about his friend Cargo Salamas and the situation there, which all relates to the plot line you have doing a task for Disable the Old, the saint-like figure at the Temple of the Sun. You have the question of the cults that are after you, specifically now the one named one that you know is the Red Eye, who dwell in Blackmoor, the refugee camp not too far from Thistlehold. Captain Marvello has said to you, he is perfectly willing to help you with the Red Eye. He wants to try and cleanse Blackmoor of their presence himself, although he did seem to imply that in order for you to be working closely with him, he will need to know a bit more about what's going on. And then there was something else. What was the other thing, folks? Help me here. Or is that it? Is that kind of it?
Ordo Magica need to feckin' pay us.
Oh yeah, you need to get paid, son. So yeah, there's that stuff.
I also have
Possibly
a very minor
something else.
thing that I forgot to mention before, which is I need to find, if he's in the city, my friend Valdemar, to send him to the Ordo Magica for work.
Sure. And also, there's Lysandra Goldengrasp. Do we want to find out why she keeps watching you?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, and isn't there an assassin after you as well?
Maybe it's the same person. We're not entirely sure.
Maybe. Either way, there you are. Why don't we just kick off with some good old-fashioned role-playing, sat round eating and drinking and discussing your next steps.
So what next?
I feel a strong compulsion to come through on my promise to the church and getting to the bottom of that cult.
Well, we've got a cult we need to get to the pointy end of, and Blackmoor as well. Would be good to get on the good side of Marvello.
Yep. I'd like to get paid. But I mean, surprising and unusual though it may be, Anton, for me to disagree with you on the priority of church business, I would say we do have an obligation. There was a promise. You are not incorrect. I would say the cults and cults in general kind of represent perhaps a bigger threat to Thistlehold and to us personally. Maybe if we can get to the bottom of that, we can eliminate some of the danger, and then all that's left is kind of detective work.
Yeah.
But we have... If an elf tells me to do something, generally, it's a good idea to do it. And the why it was the most important thing to do tends to work itself out later. We have been told to rough up this eye crowd.
Weren't we told to find the eyes?
We were told to find the eye. Rough up is, I think, our own interpretation.
Maybe the elf thinks they'll help us.
They are a cult, so roughing up seems like the more likely possibility, but
within the context of the conversation, it certainly seemed like the elf considered them targets in the same way that Erok and his disciples were.
Right.
Look, I don't know. I don't think there's a right answer, but I think there is an existential threat to Thistlehold, and it's not the machinations of some boys' clubs. I think it's whatever the corruption that stems from the forest is. I don't want to go to Blackmoor, but like I said, if an elf is shooting at you, you're in trouble. If an elf is talking to you, you're in at least twice as much trouble.
Well,
we don't have too many other leads right now as well.
Serexatio asked to speak with me tomorrow evening, and he may say something that could help your investigations.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we stay around tomorrow. You speak to Serex tomorrow evening, and we make preparations. Well, I guess we need to speak to Marvello.
Yeah.
I assume that if we're going out to Blackmoor, we would like to go with him. It would be nice to have somebody that has an understanding of what's going on the ground there.
Yeah. Look, Blackmoor, it's hard to know what's going on there. It's if you think Thistlehold is chaotic and dangerous, Blackmoor's worse.
That's why I'm saying
the extra arms are going to be useful regardless, and the legitimacy.
Well, otherwise we're just some sellswords wandering in there looking to kick over some bins, right? Like,
yeah, and I mean that's how most business in Blackmoor's conducted. I will say that if we do this, we're kind of obliged to be candid with Marvello. Is a good one, but may end up feeding information to places where it probably shouldn't go.
why?
Because I'm a paranoid old man, and I've no reason to believe that any powerful person in this city doesn't want me dead, because that's basically the message I've been getting over the last week.
The impression that I got from Marvello is that he mistrusts us because of some of the things that have been happening here over the last few days. It's a misunderstanding, but I can see from his point of view, he probably wants some things cleared up about us and our activities.
You know Marvello. Sorry, Andrew.
No, that was it. Like, just I see no reason. Like, he doesn't need to know every single thing that we know, but I think it makes sense for him to know or learn enough about what we've been doing to be able to take us off his list of suspicious people.
And I think that there's a way to do it where we just tell Marvello the stuff that we want him to know and make sure that it doesn't go any further to his men or to his superiors.
I think it'll end badly if he finds there's a discrepancy between what we've told him and what he later works out we know, and he's not a man you want to be on the wrong side of when it comes to...
So what do we not tell him?
That's a great question.
Because
look, cults, I mean, at the end of the day, cults are serious right up to Night Pitch. So if we tell Marvello tells Night Pitch, there's a degree of protection and, again, legitimacy from that.
Doesn't he already know some of this? Because didn't we tell him that we...
Yeah, do we tell him about the Lightbringer? Like, kind of looks around, realizing he probably overspoke that word.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the questions really, I guess the more sensitive stuff is, the Lightbringer and her mission to save Sarvola could be kind of controversial. Anadea, and what, you don't know if she's controversial, but clearly she had truck with elves, and that's not seen as a terribly good thing. And what's the stuff going on with that? The Iron Pact is not, are a controversial group. So there are certainly elements to your current endeavors that are, and of course, what you know about Cargos Delamos, a highly respected member of the city.
Yeah, I think
controversial aspect.
I think what Marvello will need to know is things that pertain to the security of his city, right? Like, that's. Can we give him enough about what we've been up to persuade him that we're not up to anything bad? Can we help him get on top of whatever's going on with these cults? Anything to do with the sinkhole itself? Sure, that's all his remit. Anadea isn't necessarily right now, and the elves and the Iron Pact aren't necessarily part of his remit right now. And then all of this stuff to do with the church, the Black Cloaks, and the local politics, it's too hard to know where he will stand on those things to be able to trust him to let him in.
The good thing about that is we can play them off each other. So we go in and we say, look, we can tell you a lot of stuff, but there's church business we can't tell you about. And that refocuses his line of inquiry to the church, and it gives us a blanket to throw over everything we don't want to tell him directly. I think that's an elegant way to fix that one.
But what if he starts asking questions about which side of the church?
There is
It's
only
not-
one side of the church.
Yeah. As
But-
far as the public's concerned, the Church of Prios is one church with one voice.
I think it's fine to say, look, there are whole areas and at a very broad level, we are talking about the church. We are talking about local politics that form part of our investigation. But as you say, but we can't share. And at least then we're not, we're not even being dishonest. We're even saying like there are parts of the story here that we are not going to tell you, but there are good reasons for that. And I think just saying, it's church business.
Yeah.
I think when he came to us this morning and the initial plan was to fob him off with saying it's agency business, that was clearly not a good enough answer. But there is an answer there that is somewhere less than the complete truth, which I think will satisfy him.
So
I mean, you know him better than me, Theo.
do we just... He's a good detective. He's a great detective. And he's a subtle and good man. He's not going to have us repeat all this in front of a galley of potentially dangerous folk. So do we just go and ask to speak to him?
Yeah, find out when he wants to go to Blackmore. We could talk about this stuff on the road. Unless there are specific things that he wants to know before he'll even trust us enough to set foot outside the city walls with us.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the way it splits. I think it's going to be a meeting rather than a marching.
Whatever makes sense to you.
Yeah. We go. Just tell him we're up for the Blackmore gig, but we probably want to chat with him first.
Okay. So tomorrow is a meeting with Serix in the evening, a meeting with Marvello sometime during the day, and a meeting with the Ordo to get paid. And that covers most of the things that we're interested in right now. Like, I don't know if we'll get time to drop into the Legate. I don't know how much we care about Lysindra Golden Grasp.
The Legate did say, you definitely got the impression of the Legate, we'll call you.
Oh, yeah, okay.
My problem with Lysindra is, once again, we're starting to deal with furniture in Thistlehold. Like, these high-fluting mercenary nobles are not...
She can stand at the edge of the sinkhole and shoot us meaningful glances all she wants. If she's got something to say, she knows where to find us. If she doesn't have something to say, she probably won't appreciate being interrupted. Like, what do? We go find her and say, "Hey, Lysindra Golden Grasp, you've been looking at us. How dare you?"
Or we turn the tables on her and see if we can follow her.
A voice just behind the table, a very familiar voice, says, "Who's her?" Urfons has sauntered in to the Witch and Familiar and is kind of dragging no, not a stool, because people don't use stools in the Witch and Familiar, and has kind of like sank onto kind of a cross-legged position himself. He's got kind of like a large draft of cider in front of him, and is like very noticeably has taken a pouch from his a very clinky pouch from his belt, and is kind of like tossing it into the air a bit.
Good evening, Arphons.
Good evening.
We were just discussing all the trouble we're in at the minute. How are you doing?
He has the look of somebody that's about to introduce us to some more.
Quite the opposite.
Oh,
So, I have spent the last couple of days speaking with other high-ranking members of the agency, pondering how we let a sorceress cultist dwell under our roof for the last few years. And, well, it's not been pleasant. Some realities have to be faced. But also, today, more pleasant realities had to be faced. Mahira was tired of promises and notes and maybes and called in some payment. That includes some payment for you. And in light of your recent services in bringing Eroc's side hustle to light, the agency is relinquishing fees for this payment.
Oh, excellent.
And look, I know, we all know the game. You go into these places and what you find down there is far more valuable than the coin you get for going in the first place. But as payment go, this isn't too bad. 10 thaler each. This is indeed not bad.
That is
thank you very much.
wow. Oh, you'd have to do a lot of garden to get that.
He kind of opens the bag and kind of counts out 5 piles of 10 thaler each and kind of, pushes them towards each person sat around the group. Obviously, Ascarai is sat here as well, and he's also receiving payment. But yeah, you can go ahead and add 10 thaler, which I know for some of you is a much smaller amount than you already have. Oh no, you split the money from the Tomb of Dying Dreams, right?
We did split the money, so for everyone except Alindra, it's
it's a little bit of a drop in the ocean, but
That is.
I mean,
oh, and Aaron, yeah.
Oh, and Darren. Oh, I forgot about Aaron.
Yeah.
I've just doubled my wealth, so
Yeah. I've just more than doubled my wealth.
Yeah. So that's nothing to sniff at. Irfons kind of looks around and says, "So, who's her?"
Lysindra Golden Grasp.
Has been looking at us aggressively.
aggressively.
I can't believe this is even on our to-do list. But hey, seeing as you're here, Alphonse, Lysindra Goldengrasp has been looking at us funny. Help.
Well, for a start, I would advise not referring to her as Golden Grasp within her earshot. She's not fond of that moniker anymore.
Oh?
Oh, nobility. She is nobility, right, Aaron?
It's, I think the term in a very old language is nouveau riche.
Oof. Okay. Well,
We've had some very fancy terms tonight. Nouveau riche and side hustle.
Does she have a preferred name? Or is she just Lysandra?
I think a given one is Gillencripe.
Gillencripe. So she did have her own surname.
Look, I don't know the ins and outs of these things, but she, over the last couple of years, has come down with a nasty case of regret. There's a lot of rumors about her involvement with certain groups.
Kind of groups.
So,
Groups that would rather we didn't go into Davokar anymore.
Oh.
So it has also come to our attention that there's an assassin for us. We're just
You're
wondering
part of
if
the
it's-
agency.
Say again?
I mean, you're part of the agency. Surely that doesn't frighten you.
No, not particularly. We're just wondering if it's her.
No. Golden Grasp's no assassin.
think we should go and
So-
have a chat with her. Can you introduce us?
She's hard to pin down these days. I can ask around, but I don't see myself having any sway.
We should just go down the sinkhole again.
Come back up.
Just come back up. Ah, there you are.
A few years ago, I would have said, maybe Night Pitch owes you a favor. He'll put you in touch, but I don't think they're talking anymore.
Wow. So
It
someone
seems
we
to be
should
like-
speak. Someone we should speak to when we get the chance.
Yeah. If the situation is that she'll find us if she wants to, I'm okay with that.
As you say that, you hear a little bit of commotion break out at another group sat around the Witch and Familiar. One member of the group is kind of keeled over on the ground and seems to be in some kind of pain and distress. Aaron Dar, can you give me a strong roll at -5, please?
Ooh, heck. Yes. My target is 5. I definitely do not make it with 18.
Okay, well, in that case, let me just note something down here. Can you roll a d6, please?
Yes. 6.
Aaron, you turn to kind of look at the commotion on the other table, and as you do so, you turn your head sharply, and you feel like yourself suddenly swimming through a kind of black water in your mind. You reel, and then everything blinks out for a second. And when you wake up, you're toppled over on your side on the moss-covered floor, presumably with your companions looking at you a little, curiously. You have a contorted ball of pain in your abdomen. Can you take 6 toughness, please?
Ooh. Ow. I think I need a medic.
Yeah, I'll immediately rush over and kneel down and shake Aaron gently by the shoulders.
Incredible medical attention there.
My stomach, Father, my stomach hurts.
Okay, well, I guess press down like in a few different places and see
Sure.
what reaction I get.
Are you going to make a medicus roll?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm building up to, but I'm just doing a little bit of other like kind of
You're just
flavor
doing
stuff
role playing.
first,
Okay, yeah, it's fine.
we'll
It's fine.
let's just skip right to it. No, that's fine.
No problem. Give me that cunning roll, please.
Well, I make it.
Oh, well, that is good. Sorry, I'm looking for the dice I rolled that is now completely missing and may have fallen into a bag. It's all fine. It's a D4, which is the worst kind of die you can roll and have it fall on the floor.
Do you want me to roll you a D4?
Oh, no, I'm just concerned at the loss of the D4 and the possibility that my cat will somehow try and eat the tasty pyramid treat. I already have another one here, but thank you. You like this kind of immediate reaction. You are immediately glancing over at the common meal everyone in the Witch and Familiar is sharing.
I'd reached the same conclusion, and I'm wondering if I can figure out where his name was literally on screen 2 seconds ago. Ganderald. No. He's our friends. The barkeeper. Not Erfons.
The barkeep of the Witch
Alamar.
Alamar, yeah. Well, before any of that, Anton, go ahead and, because you made your Medicus roll, you can go ahead and roll like to try and heal Aaron a bit.
I think I will use a herbal cure because we just got paid.
Yep.
And we have herbal cures. And it's a 6.
Hey.
Yeah, you know, like it's probably not going to immediately cure whatever's been put into this food, but it should at least, you know, it's like maybe it's an emetic. And you're just like, Aaron, eat this. You're going to have a horrible next few minutes. And maybe get that way. But yeah, Aaron, you can heal yourself up to 6 for now.
Is the Witch of Familiar the sort of place that has a menu, or do they just have a vat of something out of the
Alamar
back?
just brings out the food for the evening or the day or whatever. He has
So
like a thing cooking.
Anybody that's eating is eating the same thing.
Yes. And speaking of that, Steo, can you roll strong at a -5, please?
Well, it's not my dump stat. I succeed.
Which is also your elderly roll.
No, because this is the same day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not session; it's per day. Yes, Steo, your stomach is grumbling, but you're certainly not experiencing cramps in the same way that that poor Aaron seems to be. Aaron, can you roll a d6, please?
5.
Take 5 toughness.
Oh my good God.
You definitely got some of the emetic down, and then some of it came up, and some other stuff came up. Anton, Aaron's bile and the contents of his stomach do not look good. There's kind of blood shot through them.
Okay. I'll just I'll shout for someone who knows more about medicine than I do. Like it's like shout to anyone who can run to, I don't know, bloody the church or the Ordo Magica or some learned men who might be able to do more.
Have some kind of antidote or something like that. Earth Ones, who hasn't eaten anything, kind of looks over and says, I'll right, and just kind of hops up and dashes out of the door. So there we go. And Anton, could you roll strong at -5, please?
Oh my God. This is
worth noting that there was only one of the group of people eating, and like most of them are now like curled up in a fetal position on the floor. Alamar is just kind of stood behind the bar, kind of in shock, looking around at everyone slowly.
I am shooting him. I am shooting him an executioner's look right now.
I didn't make it, unsurprisingly, because my strong is 7.
Oh, in that case, could you roll me a d6, please?
4.
Okay. You feel yourself kind of, you go from 0 to 60 on this. Kind of, you're looking at the horrible matted stuff that Aaron has puked up onto the floor of the Witch and the Familiar, and you feel your own abdomen start to go. And there's kind of like a one great heave, and you just start throwing up as well. But of note, there is no blood shot through yours, and you feel like you've gotten everything out after you finish vomiting. But you've like, have you ever had a bodily function so badly that you've pulled your kind of your back, and like you feel like the muscles in your abdomen, like the intercostal muscles are just wrenched, and your lungs are burning, and you've done yourself a real disservice, Anton. And take that 4 toughness. But you feel like whatever it was, you're done with it.
Good.
John, roll a d6, please.
5. Why did
Merciful
I pick my
goodness.
good dice?
Take 5 damage, please. Does that bring you
Right.
to the point of collapse?
No, because I have feat of strength, so I'm extra
Which
tough.
you just bought, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
gives me an
Matt,
extra 5 toughness.
yeah,
are we doing turns here, or can I interject?
kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, but you get a chance to act now.
Okay.
So, yeah, while this is going on, by the way, Alindra, are you doing anything specific? But obviously, I realize you don't really have any medicus or anything.
Yeah, I don't think I can do anything to help the people that are sick. I think it's quite easy looking around to figure out what seems to have happened. So I guess there's like not much point in shouting at people to stop eating the food. I think everybody's probably figured that out.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, and Earthons has gone running off for help.
Yeah, so I think I'm mostly just kind of looking around in shock. Possibly one hand on the sword in case this is the precursor to something else.
To an attack, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, for his part, is now looking extremely bad. Is sort of greenish grey in the face and is probably actually starting to have some kind of seizure on the floor with the horrible toxicity of whatever this is running through his system.
Is there anything resembling a hospital or a medic, or like is there a place in Thistlehold nearby?
The Sun Temple.
The
Sun Temple would be where you go, would be the place where sick people go. By and large, I think, unless someone wants to correct me about my lore there. We also do have another medic who hasn't made rolls.
Yeah.
Screw him.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, okay. What I'll do is I'll grab a flagon of water and try and throw some down Aaron's mouth as my kind of medicus intervention.
Sure, absolutely. Why don't you give the cunning roll that represents, please?
I shall. I succeed.
Okay, and then then a Healy roll, please.
Let me see. I still have a herbal cure here, so I will upgrade to a D6.
Sure.
5.
Great.
I'm just going back and forth.
It's just Aaron Dar, professional yo-yo.
Absolutely. You maybe like sprinkle some of that herbal cure into the water and just decide maybe just literally flushing out Aaron's system would be the way to do it. And a way to do that is to provoke more cramping, more vomiting, purging essentially the system. You manage to Aaron can't resist. Aaron, you are unconscious at this point. You're just kind of shaking and contorting on the floor. You manage to get some of this kind of slightly bitter solution with the water and the herbs down Aaron's throat, and he, expels that again quite quickly while unconscious. You have the presence of mind to roll him over to his side. And yeah, Aaron, more of the stuff is coming out of your system. Steo, you can see like a lot of the bile and fluid that Aaron is throwing up is like there's still blood laced through it, but there's also a horrible curdled yellowness to it. Yeah, you're not exactly an expert on poisons, but yeah, this is obviously not just food poisoning. Someone has put something in that food. Anton, I figure you have another.
I was going to use my holy aura, which would help the NPCs as well.
Yes, it absolutely would. Well, give us that resolute roll then, please.
And here's where I bugger it all up. 19. Sorry, guys.
I think we can just translate that as Anton kind of feverishly praying, but unable to gain the eye of Prios at this particular moment in time. And it's the moment we've all been waiting for, because we know there's 4 people here. Elindra, roll strong at -5, please. I guess I should do Ascarai as well, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like affecting. Let's just say that Ascarai kind of, looks queasy, but doesn't.
He shrugs it off, the lucky so-and-so. Okay, so target is 10. We roll a 16.
There we go.
You'd like a d6, wouldn't you?
But first, I am rolling my own d6. And yes, I would like a d6, please.
Okay. D6 is a 6, because of course it is.
Of course it is. Let's say that you've said you've been kind of looking around in shock. And as you do so, you're kind of looking over at Aaron where Steo and Anton are tending him. You start to feel lightheaded as well. And then I don't know if I'm talking a bit too much about vomiting in this, I think, but just that slug in the stomach you get when something just hits you immediately and you topple over to the floor and just find you're already shaking and sweating with the pain of it. Take 6 toughness. And don't forget, Steo and Anton, you can go ahead and make Medicus rolls for Alindra as well. But in the meantime, John, let's have another d6 from you as well, please.
Five.
Oh, for God's sake.
Good
I'm
Lord.
using the same d6 that I picked out for my damage. So obviously all of the good luck that was
is
there.
being used up now, yeah. You kind of come to a bit, and kind of the room is reeling, and you can kind of see Steo, like when you have like a sort of bit of fluff in your eye and you try and focus on it, but it keeps moving every time you focus. And Steo's face is like that to you now, but you feel like your sweat breaking on your forehead. You feel awful, like you've just had the shit kicked out of you, but the cramping seems to be stopping, and from Steo and Anton's perspective, Aaron has stopped having a seizure and like is blinking and seems to be coming to his senses. Aaron, you're no longer poisoned. Good. Let's go to Steo and Anton. Alindra has just now keeled over next to you.
I think Anton looks a bit worse for wear, so I'm going to jump right on Alindra and try and do the same thing.
The same you were doing with Aaron. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Wish me luck. Down the hatch. That is actually a fail because I am on -1.
There we go. I imagine, Aaron, that you're not going to have much role playing to do for the next short amount of time. So why don't you look up antidotes for me, please, in the core book? And I normally we don't shout out chat until right at the end, but I would like to say, painful DM, your thing of Anton's failed holy aura roll, and your response being Prios, you're on mute. Lovely stuff. So you've broken John. There you go. And Chris isn't far behind. So
poor Mike, like, rest in peace.
I want to say how impressed I am at that smooth transition from John as a player to John as the stream manager. It's just like, right, we need a rules lookup.
Yep, go.
Incapacitate Aaron.
Rules monkey. Yeah, so Anton, Steo doesn't seem to, whatever Steo is doing doesn't seem to be having much effect on Alindra's current state. So are you going to shift your attention from Aaron, who seems to be recovering, to, this isn't like, I want to give you pleasure. Some minutes have passed during this. Like, this isn't just like a really quick thing that's happened,
Do you think it's appropriate for me to try casting Holy Aura again? Would you be open to me doing that?
I'm open to you doing that. Yeah, there's no rule against trying it in subsequent rounds. But just, I don't know, like, you also can make a Medicus roll because it's a different target.
Okay, but I presume I've only got one action or one thing.
Both of them are like one.
Yeah, I think I'll go for Holy Aura because that's going to help everyone.
Sure. Yeah.
And a lot of people are taking toughness, and I'm not guaranteed to get the Medicus roll anyway.
Sure.
So, in a very long-winded way, I make my Resolute roll by 1.
Okay. And I believe what that does is every turn it heals everyone 1d4, right?
That's right. Yeah. So lasts until I fail the resolute test or I break concentration, and living creatures heal 1d4 of toughness per turn.
Okay. In that case, immediately, Elindra, everyone who has taken toughness damage can heal 1d4. Anton, do you want to describe what I've kind of got in my head? Anton's kind of on his knees, kind of like, I don't know. Did we say that? I don't think you kind of. I don't think there's that. Is there? Is there
no,
kind of like a
but
clasped or a?
I think actually for this, I have to have a holy symbol, and I think that we've sort of talked about Anton having like a brooch or something like that on his robes, and
like a sun pendant that you can kind of clasp at.
Yeah. So I think I would be holding that, and not with my eyes closed, because obviously this requires a bit of concentration maybe, and I've got to have an awareness of what's going on around me.
Yeah.
But
does Mike roll a d4 for everyone, or does everyone roll their own
d4? Everyone can roll their own d4. You'll be glad to know.
What's the problem with my rolls?
I got a 1, so it's fine. I didn't know whether the holy aura is like
Sure, yeah,
consistent holiness across the room, or if the amount of holiness differs per person.
It differs per person, so
depends on how much of a believer you are.
Well, that's why I got a 1, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what's up with everyone else, but this is actually the first time in like 8 sessions I've been on a full health pool. So this is the best beef I've ever eaten. I'm going to be honest with
you. Theo just chomping down on seconds.
It's good stuff. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So okay, I am going to start. I guess let's see how Earthons might have done at this point. Well, he rolled a 20, so not great.
He's found the assassin.
Yeah, but now obviously there's kind of like waves of kind of glittering warmth rolling through the Witch and Familiar. Anyone who is more aware, kind of Aaron, you're somewhat aware, and Steo, you are. Can see that over the group of individuals, there's definitely at least a couple of people who are just dead. Just flat out dead. You can see them on the floor, kind of their bodies contorted and arched backwards with their seizure-like death throes, with their eyes kind of open and staring, and a crust of foam around their mouths. Alamar is kind of like just panicking. He's just kind of going around to everyone, kind of trying to help people by doing nothing helpful at all. Not a man to have around in a crisis, clearly. But you knew that since the first time, he was like, there's jackals in my inn, help me. So there we go. And I think then what we'll have is another damage roll from Elindra, please. Another d6.
Yay. We're going to roll a 1.
That's a lot better.
That is better than a 6,
yeah. The cramping is stopping for now, but it's not stopped. It's just easing off for a second, and you can definitely find your wits and your mind enough to say maybe 3 words in total if you want, in between the whimpering.
Okay. I'm gonna say the words jackads, heart, water, and then start thrashing around again.
It's a bit posh. It's just a bit of a stomach ache, like
in a barbarian tavern.
I like it with you standing next to the 2 contorted bodies from the other group, kind of.
I don't think he looks too rough just yet, Steve. Sorry, she.
Anton, I think we'll start with you and your resolute roll for maintaining your holy aura, right?
Yeah.
And am I right in saying that with holy aura you don't have to be like, it's if your focus gets broken, but it doesn't? Does it take an action to maintain it as well?
I don't think it takes an action to maintain it.
I don't think it does either.
But I failed my roll anyway.
Okay.
But like, yeah. So I don't think. Yeah,
sure.
That's relevant.
Do you want to try your Medicus roll on Elindra now?
Yeah, how rough does Elindra look at this point?
What's your total toughness?
Total remaining toughness,
Mm-hmm.
14.
Okay. So you have so
peaky.
so you're halfway there basically.
Well, I started at 20.
Your toughness is 20.
Yeah.
Good lord. In that
said
case,
I was the
Elindra
tank.
does not look. I mean, Elindra looks rough, but nowhere near as perilous as Aaron did.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just do a medicus roll, I think.
Yeah, very valuable gulps of water. Those are.
Let's
I
not
mean,
be hasty.
really, Ron just met Elindra, really. Like, you know. Go ahead with your medicus roll.
Yeah, I made it.
Okay. And roll for healing then.
2.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Better than nothing, guys.
Yeah, presumably like, applying the same kind of emetic as worked on Aaron. The effects aren't as dramatic with Elindra, but Alamar's going to have to clean this place up. Let's put it that way. And let's see how Urfons is doing out there. Okay. Elindra, can
Yes.
you give me another damage roll, please?
Sure, why not? 2.
Okay.
Okay, this is fine.
It's fine. It's easing. It's fine. Elindra is still shaking and mostly unable to communicate or do anything in particular, but you're not too worried. You think her system might be just about beating it. Steo, Anton, Aaron, you're probably kind of capable of at least sitting up and, how much did you get healed by the Holy Aura?
4.
Okay.
So I think I push myself gently into a sort of half-sitting position.
Sure, absolutely. I don't think you can do anything more than that, but yeah.
I'm just expending all my energy trying not to get vomit on myself. Any more vomit on myself.
Steo, Anton, doing anything in particular? You've made your medicus roll, so there's nothing else with that you can do now.
I think I'm just going to sit down, not eat any more food, and just look glum. I don't think there's anything like immediate that needs doing. Nothing's on fire, really. There's a couple of dead people, but we're kind of used to that.
Sure.
Are there any more not dead people?
Yeah, there are some people over the other table who are still going through the poisoning. Yeah.
Actually, if there's still, if I should superhero it up and go over and try and get them to blow some.
Sure,
chunks.
absolutely. Well, why don't you? I don't want to like map them all these NPCs out individually, but why don't you just give me a cunning roll and let's see how you do.
That is another failure.
Okay, yeah. These individuals clearly had the worst of it than your group. You suspect like there's 2 of them are dead now. You don't think that number is going to get smaller. Put it that way. Anton, how about you?
I mean, I think if there's bodies there and maybe companions that aren't bodies, I will go over and do priestly things.
Do that yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you give me a cunning roll as well, and let's see how you do with the healing of them. And while you do that, Elindra, go ahead and give me another damage roll.
Sure. That's a 3.
Okay. Yeah, that's 3 toughness as another hefty cramp seizes your body. Anton, how did you do on that cunning roll?
Yeah, made it.
Yeah, you basically get over there, you think just in time. There's a young woman with the group who you kind of like feed some herbal cure to and seem to ease what she's going through. You think she'll make it, but who knows? And at this moment, Urfons bounds back through the door, almost dragging a young Theurg with him, who's kind of like looks a bit panicky around, and then starts fiddling in a little satchel at his waist, and says, "Oh, awful, just awful." Oh, kind of stumbles forward. And Elindra kind of leans down near you and kind of gets some leaves out from his pocket, which he kind of quickly like crumbles in together and gets some paste from another small sachet and kind of just mixes it with his hands. He seem kind of like he doesn't enjoy doing this with his hand. You know, he obviously would prefer a pestle and mortar or something. And then just kind of, but then as soon as he reaches out towards you, seems to like hit some kind of rhythm. He's done this before, and he kind of just takes your face softly and just like tilts it up and just says, "Please open your mouth. You need to swallow this as much as you can. I know it hurts." He kind of like is kind of stroking your throat a bit, for some reason you have the sudden kind of impression this man has treated a lot of farm animals, you know. But hey,
I will
get a vet
do
when you
whatever he
can't get a
tells me
doctor,
to.
right? Yeah.
My mates are mostly sat around going, "Be right." So I'll take the Theog's help.
So that is a weak antidote, which lowers the effect of a poison by 1 degree. So you know what? We'll do your last damage roll now because you rolled 5 turns of damage, which is quite hefty. So basically, I rolled it was D6 damage for D6 turns. Right. But if you could roll a D4 for the damage now,
D4
because he's reduced the poison by 1 degree.
That is a 1.
There we go. And you feel kind of like, whether it's the effect of the antidote or just the poison wearing off, you feel like, you know, you stop shaking and you feel yourself coming to your senses. Let's roll just a random die. I'm not going to kill him, but let's roll a random die to see how Ascarai did through all this, shall we? Ascarai was in a bit of trouble, but nothing he couldn't handle himself. I don't know. He suffered a bit from it, but not too badly. Anton, you made a healing roll on the other people. I am going to roll. What I'm going to do is roll a die, moderated by your success there. At the end of this, after everyone seems to be recovering, in the room, there is now your group, who are obviously somewhat the worse for wear. There is Alamar, who just looks panicked and appalled. There are 6 bodies on the floor, and 3 of the companions of those at the other group seem to have survived to various degrees. Maybe, let's say, a couple of them didn't seem to be really affected by it at all, and one of the others is just kind of like curled up on the floor, moaning and holding their stomach, but seems to have made it through. The young Theog is just kind of looking around in sort of horror at the scene. And Erfons is just kind of he's probably stood nearby, like bent over, like just, you know, gasping for air. But I'd say all of you are at least capable of speech now, and we can go out of everyone's damage is sorted.
Well, that's the second assassination attempt then.
I think we have some questions for Alamar.
We do. We also have to be careful about what we say, how loud we say it, and who we say things to, because once again, innocent people have lost because of us.
Well, this is assuming that it was us being targeted. Who knows what the people on the table next door did?
We know there was an assassin after us.
That's true.
Poisoning a whole tavern full of people.
If that's what this was, that is.
That's not assassination. That's terrorism.
Yeah. Yeah, that is not how we do things. Someone who's feeling stronger than I am should talk to Alamar and should find out who could have had access to their kitchens.
I'm going to beckon Alamar over with a look of absolute death on my face.
He's kind of like just wringing his hands together in his towel and just, you're all right?
Our group is just.
We've been better.
There's so many.
It's a lot of corpses, Alamar. A lot of corpses for an eating establishment, yes.
Steo, be gentle.
swear I just prepared it as I normally do.
Who else came into the tavern while you were making it?
I don't know. I mean, it was just in my kitchen. The back door was open all afternoon, as it always is. Why would anyone want to poison people?
We don't know. Alamar, take a deep breath, because you are in shock, and carefully think back to the events of today.
Yes,
Not
Father.
just did anyone come in, did anything unusual happen? Any unsavory visitors? Anyone in recent days asking about the food?
Let's do this as a persuasive roll from Anton, please.
Ooh.
I think I make it. I do. Need a 10, roll 10.
I don't think so. I heard a noise in the alleyway behind earlier. I thought it was a cat.
What kind of noise?
Just something being disturbed, something being knocked over.
I'm going to stand up and make my way through the kitchen. If I can bring an Ascarai on a stick, I'll
sure,
do that
yeah,
well.
Ascarai can follow you, kind of looking a bit pale and wan, but with his trusty bow.
But I'll leave you to continue the interrogation.
And when was this noise?
Mid-afternoon. I had already been cooking for some time.
Were you in the kitchen the whole time?
No, I come out to serve people and to clean. The food needs to be on the boil for hours and hours.
Anyone else working in there?
No.
Don't throw away the food.
But don't serve it to anybody else.
No. I'll put it to one side and I'll cover it. Steo, you and Ascarai emerge out into the back door is open even now. Clearly, the kitchen is very warm because it has a lot of things on the boil. You emerge out into that back alley. It's a typical Thistlehole back alley. If you want to find something, you can go ahead and give a vigilant roll, and I'll do one for Ascarai as well, because depriving you of his vigilant roll would probably be
blinds the party quite literally.
Although he failed, but
I actually pass, which is uncharacteristic.
You find a little way along the alleyway. There is kind of a couple of long, sort of. At some point, someone's got a couple of staves that are kind of roughly carved and prop them up against the side of the alleyway together. They're pretty poor make actually, and they look like they've just been left there for weeks, months. A couple of them look to your eyes like they've toppled over and then been put back up. That is literally all that is awry that you can perceive in this alleyway. The only picture it paints to you is maybe someone knocked them over and then put them back up. But
yeah,
I mean, that's... They don't need to have been a poisoner to have done that.
I'll return to the eating room then, looking crestfallen.
No.
Nothing?
It's not a surprise.
Well,
Alamar has already kind of moved the big sort of, cauldron of beef stew over to one side and has like gingerly placed a covering on top of it and then thrown a sack over it.
Now, someone disturbed 2 crappy staves, but they certainly didn't carve their name into them.
So who in this town knows poisons?
God, hundreds.
Okay, I mean, who could identify this poison, which may narrow down the person that delivered it, somewhat.
I look at the Theurg who came in to give treatment. Father?
I'm sorry, I wouldn't know where to begin. What I gave you was a simple diluent, and it's a general antidote meant to serve against any imbibed poisons. I wouldn't know where to begin. I suppose perhaps the Ordo Magica? Yeah, learned folk. I'm sorry, my duty prescribes me. I must go find a guard. I could do no more for these poor souls.
That's a good idea. Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
He kind of nods and dashes out. Erfons has kind of regained his breath and looks up and says, "Never a dull evening."
Nope.
So that assassin you mentioned,
the one that we were just saying that we weren't at all concerned about, that's just killed 6 people. That assassin, yeah. That is a messy way of doing business, Erfons. I'm not at all impressed at their methods.
This is a big escalation on the last time somebody tried to assassinate us, right? The luring us out into
swords.
Look, I understand if you don't feel safe under the agency's roof, but why don't you spend tonight there? Eric's been dealt with. His disciples have been dealt with. Clearly, someone knows you're here.
Yeah, I suppose it would be nice to spend some time in a room where we have more friends than enemies.
I think for Alamar and his business's sake, it's probably not a good idea for us to be around here for a while.
Let's stick around for the guards to arrive so it doesn't look suspicious that we ran off.
Yeah. Maybe Dirac. Maybe Dirac.
Do we think?
Yeah, it's Dirac. Yeah, your friend Dirac is the Sergeant Dirac of the City Guard.
Yeah, but we need to speak to Marvello, isn't it? So
you do, yeah. Dirac reports to Marvello, but yeah, Marvello is the day captain, so he's probably asleep by now. Yeah, you know what? I'm not too fussed about running the scene with the guards, because I feel that's just going to be you describing to the guards what's just happened. They are perfectly willing to take your word for it and Alamar's word for it, and Erfons and the Theurg that you are the victims here, and as well. You know what? One of the guards is one of the ones from the sinkhole, pulling an extra late shift, and you're the current heroes of Thistlehold, right? Clearly, someone is targeting you. Someone's after you. So. No problem with the guards whatsoever. They just take everyone's names. They start clearing the bodies and helping the 3 survivors from the other group to maybe to the Sun Temple along with the Theurg.
I would like to see if it would be possible to get one of the guards to take a sample of the food to the Ordo Magica with instructions about what it is, and is there somebody there that might be able to start testing it? I don't know how these things work, whether it would have broken down by morning.
Sure.
I don't particularly want to go on an adventure to the Ordo Magica myself tonight.
And I think it's perfectly reasonable that Alindra would also have no clue whatsoever about breaking down of stuff or whatever anyway. So why don't you give me a persuasive roll? But you can take a +3 to it because you've been dealing positively with the guards recently. They don't seem convinced that they'll do that.
They're not going on the soup run.
Yeah,
I guess
if they're kind of like, oh, we'll need instructions on what to do. They're just the patrol that's been dragged into this. They'll wait for a sergeant to get there before they do anything like that.
It's too much initiative.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we take a bowl to the Ordo Magica ourselves then.
Yeah, I think we should drop it round. Speak to someone tonight and then make arrangements to come back tomorrow there. and then go to the agency.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think while you go to the Ordo Magica, I would like to go back to my quarters and perhaps find a clean shirt.
Pack a bag, because while you're not marked, they've probably figured out you hang around with us at this stage.
I think.
Aaron's quarters are at the agency, aren't they?
Uh,
Are they?
so I wasn't actually sure. I used to stay in a bunkhouse of just like
Okay, they can be at the
random
agency if you want.
travelers,
It's up to
but
you.
as I have quarters in the agency, you'll be at the agency. That makes
Sure.
sense.
Cool. I'm perfectly happy for you to take a kind of sample of the stuff over to the Ordo Magica. You knock on the door and rouse the night porter, who kind of blearily looks at what you're proffering and kind of snatches it off you and says, "Poison? Fine. I'll make sure one of the law masters sees it. Good night to you." And like goes to like slam the door shut.
Precisely as helpful as usual.
Back to the agency, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
A place we have not often been.
No, but it is the same as the last times you've been to it, although maybe a bit emptier now that Erok and his disciples have been variously killed and cast out. The common room seems fairly dead at this time of night. There's certainly no one you know in it, no Serexatio or anything like that. Urfon shows you upstairs to kind of the guest chambers and indicates kind of one that you can take and sleep in. Is there any other role play type stuff we want to do before the night passes and we're on to the next day?
I suppose get some normal food just so no one's on an empty stomach, and then go to sleep.
I think I will probably give the food a miss for tonight.
Sure.
But I would, if he also bunks at the agency, I would like to knock on Vardamar's door, if he's even in the city still.
Let's say
don't
he's
need-
not there, because I have no idea about his inclusion in this, because he is a character from another thing and we haven't talked to the player about it before.
Yeah, that's fair.
So let's just say he's not here, and that avoids that question mark.
That makes sense.
Do your usual. Is it just one toughness overnight
Yes.
recovery, so everyone can get that done? And then you rouse yourselves the next morning. No one's come to kill you in the night, and you can hear like a slightly increased level of hustle and bustle downstairs, as there are seemingly some fortune hunters now in the common room, and kind of things are a bit more active. There's no sign of Urfons or indeed anyone else that you recognize.
So we go check up on what the Ordo Magica found. If they find anything, we can go to the guards.
The Ordo Magica are the only people that are likely to have a lead at this point. Right? I think the guards helped the survivors get home safely and dealt with the bodies and stuff, but I don't know that they have got anywhere to start with finding the assassin, the poisoner.
I think that whatever we do today, we go as a group. And Elindra, I agree. I think that, Steve, you looked in that alley, and I trust you to find clues and leads more than two jobbing guards. So, Ordo Magica.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to buy some stuff. I want some herbal cures. We
Maybe
should
some
probably,
antidotes.
and probably some antidotes as well.
Yeah, you can absolutely do that, and you can do that on the way. You know that you can walk through the market on the way to the Ordo Magica. What are we after specifically, Chris?
I
You say
would
herbal
like
cures.
to purchase 4 herbal cures.
If I can find how much they cost again.
And sorry, let me scroll up because we got a very useful dump of how the antidotes work.
Yeah, I've got the cost of antidotes right here.
I just want to know,
herbal cures.
do you need to be skilled at them to administer them? But it seems not.
You need to do a cunning roll for them to take effect, but it doesn't
Yeah.
say that you need a specific ability.
No, you don't. I don't think.
I'll see if I can buy 2 weak or moderate antidotes.
Yeah, I mean, which ones? Because they obviously have a different price.
Let's see what the moderates are like price-wise.
Moderates are 2 thaler each.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay, a couple of moderate antidotes and herbal cures are 1 thaler each.
So that's 8 thaler altogether, I think.
Almost all your pay for the sinkhole.
Yeah, but fuel for the fires of vengeance.
Sure. Does anyone else want to buy anything while we're in the marketplace? Nope.
What's the cost of transport a long way away from Thistlehold?
To Blackmore.
1 more thaler than you have.
That's a crying shame.
Yeah, so I suppose we'll go and see if we can get an audience with.
Herbal cures are only usable by people with Medicus, right? Like, there's no point.
yes.
No, you can't.
no.
Can you not just use them blank? But they
Oh,
get
yeah,
exactly
you can just
one.
consume them for 1 toughness. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a total waste.
That would be a lot of herbal cures.
But in like a clutch situation, I guess it's
It's the next day actually, so we could do Medicus on Indra.
Yes, you can do.
That's
yes.
true.
If you want, you can do a Medicus roll on anyone who's still suffering.
We'll do that.
Yay!
Fail.
Boo.
Go on, I'll give them a look over as well. Oh God, it's the next day, so this roll is actually completely critical. I pass. I'm not elderly.
You're not elderly today.
Fecka, I'll use a herbal cure. Oh my God, that's 1 point of health.
Thanks, Theo.
Yeah, it just gives you some kind of like herbal cure that manages to soften the pain in your torso by, just the smallest amount possible.
I'm going to also, while we're at the market, just buy some form of bacon, which I imagine will be about as effective.
Yeah, probably. Are you doing similar Medicus rolls on Aaron? Does Aaron require?
Aaron does require. Aaron, yeah, could do with what one of you maybe would be fine.
Oh.
And I think Aaron would instinct. Yeah, he'd probably go to the Theurg.
I rolled a 20.
You go to the Theurg, you get the mic.
See, I'd say that's Mike's final 20 of 2021, but we all know that he'll probably make a couple more rolls tonight. So
I rolled really well tonight up until that point.
yeah.
So take 10 points of toughness, I guess. Sorry.
You're only as good as your most recent roll, Mike. No, there's no ill effects. Just Anton does not manage to ease any of your pain. Steo, are you getting a Medicus roll off, Steo?
Yeah, do you know what? For the sake of
beating Anton,
over.
Yeah.
Although I do have to roll quite good to get this to work. I fail also.
Aaron, you're shit out of luck.
Aaron does not have a good breakfast.
No. Still feeling very delicate.
I could try, like, in the absence of that, I could maybe do a holy aura because I would feel.
Let's not get into the habit of just spamming holy aura whenever like the group's down. Like, it is definitely flagged lots on like the Reddit as like pretty game breaking if you just like spam it every time someone's,
You're assuming that I'm going to pass the resolute test. So.
Sure. I mean, am I? Is that what I'm assuming? So let's I believe we were on our way to the Ordo Magica, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
When you arrive at the Ordo Magica, let's not fuss about with this. The porter, the same one as last night, seemingly recognizes you and waves you in. He takes you up those kind of spiral inner wooden stairs around the hollowness at the center of the tower, and he takes you up to a room you've been in before. It's a room or you've at least passed before. It's adjacent to the archives. And inside is Ganderald, who is sat by a table which has a number of oddly blown glass instruments over it. It's ye olde chemistry set essentially, and he is tinkering with something and kind of like diluting various clear liquids, and kind of looks up the young changeling novice mage as you enter and says, "Oh, actually, he's not a novice; he's an adept." Yes, I believe I have you to thank for this little puzzle. Interesting day you had yesterday.
Yeah, becoming more and more normal in these fraught times.
He stands up and wanders over. I think it's safe to say Aaron probably came out the worst out of it overall, even though maybe Alindra has taken more toughness damage at this point. And he kind of peers closely at your face, Aaron, and you see kind of like the odd kind of reflection of your entire face in those kind of single tone changeling eyes. And he just kind of like looks around your face and says, "Open your mouth." Maybe not lasting damage. Have you expelled anything since?
Since all of the expulsion done, no.
That's probably good. Probably.
Should I look out for expulsions?
Especially if there's blood or more stomach lining.
Okay. Thank you.
Simple nightshade. A lot of it. A lot of it.
So not only was it terrible, it was also not even expensive.
Or specialist, which means that essentially we're talking about anybody could have got hold of a reasonable quantity of nightshade, right?
It's true, though, in my experience and in various things I've read, sometimes the simplest of tools are used by the most advanced masters of the art. Either way, you are right. Essentially, there is very little way to determine who might have applied this. Maybe they bought it. Maybe they picked it themselves. Maybe they brewed something up. But I'm afraid I assume you have brought this to me in order to try and track down the person who did this. But
that was the hope.
I sincerely regret having to tell you that I really have no idea how you could find out from this who did this.
I don't suppose you know of any similar poisonings recently?
No, you'd have to ask the guard, I'm afraid. It's not usual that people come to us with poisonings. Poison is not unusual within Thistlehold, but neither is it mostly employed when a shiv to the gut will do.
I understand. Thank you for your time.
Have you had any news about the hole?
No, not yet. Master Furia wishes to put together another more focused, learned expedition to the Isle and see what rituals can be conducted there in order to tame the place and reduce the amount of corruption it is exuding over the caverns. But it will be weeks before the red tape is cut through with the mayor.
I understand. And I suppose the rest of it can remain unmapped for the meanwhile, or at least the long tunnel to the north.
I think that is the last thing on his mind, if I'm honest.
Good. Well, I suppose we will be called if we are needed. We are nothing but the scapegoat or mascot of the expedition, it would seem.
Well, I, for one, am grateful you were there.
Thank you. The feeling is mutual. It is good that everyone got out of it alive.
And thank you for looking at this for us.
Oh, that is all right. A little curiosity to pass the time.
Did I miss the part where someone told us how we're going to get paid?
You've already been paid.
Yeah, we got a
Earthlands
big.
brought the money last night.
That was funds. Okay, I thought that was payment for the agency business, not auto payment for the business with the sinkhole.
I mean, what you did was agency business. You're signed up to the agency, so anything you do is agency business.
Okay.
I
So
think
the pay came from the Order Magica to the agency, and the agency waived their fees because of the Aerok stuff.
Got it. Yeah, no, I thought that was being paid for just rooting out the cultists. That's okay. Cool.
How long would it take to poison the stew, considering how much there was in it?
How long does it take to drop a dissolving sachet into a cauldron?
Oh,
I don't think we're going to find the answers here, unfortunately.
Mere seconds. If they had access to it, toss it in, make sure it's breaking apart, leave. Poison is a very lazy way to murder, Sadar, but quite efficient.
it seems to cause a lot of extra damage.
Indeed, it's whoever did this was not concerned about collateral. If it is an assassin and they are after you, I would suggest that they're dangerous.
Fair.
Or at the very least, willing to do almost anything to kill you.
Well, I think we've taken up enough of your time. Thank you again for this. Fruitless though it was.
Quite all right. Ganderald kind of ushers you out, obviously keen to return to his studies. Away from the Order Magica. I believe, I don't know if plans have changed, but I believe the first order of today was to go speak to Marvello.
Yeah. See if we can get a meeting with him.
Mm-hmm. Where are you going to try and seek a meeting with him? His offices are often near the North Gate, but also he may be at the barracks. Kind of, he's known to be there as well. So
I think I'll bend our course by the North Gate if we're talking it through.
Sure. Although it's worth noting that the barracks are near the Order Magica.
Yeah, there is that as well. Okay, look, Steo is nothing if not slightly lazy, so let's go to the barracks first.
Sure. Let's do that, and I will literally just flip a coin for whether he's there or not. He is not at the barracks, which leaves you presumably walking through Thistlehold up to the North Gate. And you know what? When you arrive near there at kind of the guard station near the North Gate, you find that lurking outside, wasting some time with a couple of other guards, is Dirac.
Dirac, my old friend.
He kind of turns around. A bit of description for him, because I don't think we've had Dirac on screen too much for a while. He's a big, very burly man of kind of barbarian extraction, with a mass of salt and pepper hair and a ginger and grey beard. And he kind of rounds on you when he hears your voice and just pokes a finger really quite hard into your chest, saying, "What the fuck have you been up to? Sinkholes? Poisonings?"
Jeez, news travels fast when it's about my gut, doesn't it? Where's your boss?
I couldn't give a sun god's toss about the contents of your gut, Steo. A thing I've made clear to you on more than one occasion.
I miss you.
What the fuck is going on?
Trouble everywhere.
Do you need help?
We might. But what we're here for is to see if we can have a chat with your boss. Is Marvello around?
He is. He said you might show up.
Yeah,
Go on.
what's that?
Fuck off in there. He indicates kind of the small, the door into the guard station behind him.
I'll give him like a friendly pat on the shoulder as we pass in. But yeah, I'll invite everyone into a place where I've probably been.
Oh, you've been here many. You've been posted here many times. Yeah, the main room of it, it's just basically a large room, which is kind of like a barracks or a common room. There's a few guards sat around, kind of off duty. A couple of others kind of snoozing on cots over on the side. And at the back is like the only separate room, which is Marvello's office, essentially. He's in the doorway of there, kind of like looking at a report that someone has handed him and sort of mutters a few words to them, passes it over, looks over as the five of you walk in, and just kind of nods in very little surprise, and beckons you over to go into his office.
We'll head in.
I think you've been in Marvello's office before, maybe during Mark of the Beast, but it's a somewhat kind of sparse room. There's basically a desk. There's a map of Thistlehold up on the wall. There's some what look like kind of logbooks stacked across, and that is basically about it. There's not really many places to sit, but he sort of leans on the edge of his table. Have we described Marvello for a while, in fact?
I don't think we have.
I don't think we have. So Marvello is a very kind of handsome, dark-skinned man with closely kind of cropped and curled, tightly curled hair, and he's got a somewhat well coiffed goatee that kind of runs to a small point under his chin. He takes a lot of pride in his uniform and his appearance, and it definitely shows. He's got quite an expensive looking cape, well polished kind of mail and scale armor, and generally looks a huge amount more professional than almost anyone else in the city guard, and certainly most of his subordinates. He leans on the edge of the desk and says, "Poison?
Nightshade."
Sounds like that assassin made a play."
Yep, that's the second one. The first one was sellswords. It's escalating.
All right. You haven't come here to report this to me, since you know I've heard about it already. I'm assuming you're here because you want to talk about the Red Eye. And I'm assuming if you want to talk about the Red Eye, then you also want to tell me what's going on.
Yeah, all that we know of it, I suppose.
I'm listening.
Where to start? I suppose we start at the sinkhole. I think we've told you most of this, but the sinkhole, its epicenter, was a place where we had been asked to, anonymously asked to meet someone for a job. We thought nothing of it. And they kind of introduced themselves, promised us a great amount of pay, and then the bell went on the far gate and they said something about the elves, and we ran to assist. That's when the witches arrived, and then shortly after, that whole block, that whole section of the ring just vanished. I suppose that's where the story started. The next part was when we went to speak to the witches. They, Anton, correct me, but they warned us that whatever corruption is festering here and whatever corruption caused this event is may soon well be eclipsed by something worse from the forest.
You think this job you were offered by this mysterious individual, you think these are linked? These are all part of a pattern?
I think so.
The individual had an idea that something was about to happen. The witches had turned up because they were aware that something was about to happen, and that something was potentially not just a problem for Thistlehold, but for Davakar and for Ambria as well, right?
And Father Anton, when you spoke to them, you said they asked if the well had spoken.
That's what they said. Didn't mean anything to me.
All right. So tell me why all this other occurrence there, the arson at Father Sarvola's, these events out in Glimmervan.
Well, things have escalated. We felt compelled to investigate the individual that we met prior to the sinkhole collapsing. That led us to the church, and at the church, some very, very senior members of the church have asked us to do some investigation for them as well. And with all due respect, Captain, it's perhaps not appropriate for me at this point to explain that because of the positions that they hold within the church. I'm sure that you can understand yourself being in an organization with that sort of structure.
When you say individuals in the church, if you're reluctant to give me names, can I just ask you, is Elfano aware of your doings?
He is.
All right, that's good enough for me. And Glimmervan?
Was also related to that investigation of the individual. There was somebody that they knew was in Glimmervan. We went to go and have a conversation with them.
And ended up being attacked by cultists from the agency.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Well, Mahira has had some explaining to do to Night Pitch, I'll tell you that.
So I presume that you're aware of at least enough of what's been happening with the cultists at the agency to be able to corroborate that story.
We made our own investigations once Mahira came to us with it. I've had to pay for 2 weeks off for some of my men after seeing that basement.
Yeah, did Erfons not warn you about that?
I didn't deal with Erfons.
Yeah. He nailed it shut.
Mahira talked to Night Pitch talked to me.
Right. And somewhere
Night
along
Pitch,
that...
Night Pitch told me to tear the house apart.
Well, whatever's happening now, what we know for certain is that cultists have a mark on us. There's an assassin, it's probably related.
And the Red Eye from Blackmore, you say you saw them following you?
Yeah, on the way to Glimmervan. We didn't know who they were, but we've since heard the name of Red Eye, and I think the description matches the creatures that we saw on the road.
They were skulking around Jacket's heart.
All right. But you feel they were after you, not investigating the folk there?
I don't think we perceived any particular threat from them when we first encountered them at Jackad's Heart, but obviously after that we got to Glimmervan and became aware of the cults in Thistlehold. We believe that the Red Eye are particularly involved in that in some way. And
then the business at the sinkhole, just a job, yes? The Order Magica offered the money to you, you took it.
Yep.
And
we were investigating the sinkhole anyway. We were interested. Well, no, honestly, we weren't that interested to actually go down there. That was about the money, right?
Yeah, I was interested specifically in not going down there. If I recall the conversation.
I think all things considered, if we'd been given a choice in the matter, it would have been other people go down the sinkhole. But you know how these things are.
And the first time you got permission to go down, joining the dots, that was to find your benefactor, yes?
Yeah,
that was one of the things. Well, we found the burial place of our benefactor.
I was going to say, I assume they are no longer with us if they were at the center of it. All right. Is there anything else I should know?
We might. What's the name of the lady again?
Anadea.
No,
I'm assuming you
not
mean you.
Anthea.
Lysindra.
Oh,
Lysindra.
Lysindra Golden Grasp. Yes, or Gillengripe.
The Lysindra Gilligripe keeps catching our eye both times we've come out of the sinkhole and during the sinkhole event itself, if memory serves.
Right.
Every
I mean-
time we've been at the sinkhole, she's been there watching us being at the sinkhole.
And
Even
you say
when
there's
she was-
talk of elves.
There's talk of elves.
Well, that's an issue for another day. The Red Eye need dealing with. They're a few bad weeks away from taking over Blackmoor. They're offering false hope and motive to wave after wave of discontented refugees. The southeast part of Blackmoor is all but theirs now. What I need is for someone to go in there, do some digging, and then I'll come down there with a fully armed force ready to burn them out.
So you want quiet scouts, information gatherers.
I don't know how quiet you can be in Blackmoor. And I'll be honest, I don't know how quiet you can be.
Quiet, as in not accompanied by you and an army of town guard immediately.
Correct. I arrive, we then know because you have discovered where they are, and we strike fast and hard. If I go in there backed by 20, 30 guards, they'll just go to ground.
Okay, you need the intelligence first.
Yes.
What has Erebus said about this?
Have you met Erebus?
I've
You
had
have all met Erebus. In case we haven't made the connection here, do you remember the drunk noble at the Hall of Knights, the real asshole guy, who was clearly Anadea's father?
Yeah.
He is the bailiff of Blackmoor, which you mentioned at the time, but like lots of connections here. But obviously, Aaron knows him pretty well. Sorry, Aaron, what did you say in response to his? Have you met him?
I have had the pleasure.
Then I imagine you know what he thinks of it. Not very much at all. Look, he has his paid little mercenary forces there. He has these, what does he call them? His blood robes. The mercenary company he's paying to keep the area calm. He has his own forces, a small amount of them. Some of them even sponsored by the city guard here. But they clearly don't care, or they would have done something about it already.
So they're not.
The Red Eyes, they're not openly hostile, but they're clearly a cult. They're clearly enamored with something in their festering den. And I sympathize with the position of the refugees, the barbarians, the goblins, the changelings who find themselves in Blackmoor, but we have to maintain control. And the Red Eye are taking it out of our hands.
And the bailiff and his people essentially don't care unless Blackmoor burns down or the coffers dry up.
All Erebus cares about is the taxes he can take from the few shops there are there.
Okay.
So
we've just been volunteered for another thing, haven't we?
So I just say maybe it's too soon, but the poison in the soup for this particular mission is the fact that I'm pretty sure this cult are aware of us.
I mean, like, yes.
So stealth is not going to
If
be.
it reassures you, they are a ragged little band.
Yeah, but they're half of Blackmore as well.
Just look. We need to move fast on this.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning, I'll put on some horses for you. Get yourself to Blackmore by dawn. I'll be there by dusk. No need to stay there long. I don't think it's going to be difficult for you to find out where they are. They're not subtle, they're not particularly organized, and they're very loud about what they do.
So we've got
All
the
we
day.
need to know is where we hit.
So we've got the day to find the location, communicate that with you when you arrive at dusk.
That's right. I'll give you a place where I'll arrive at the Black Square at the center of the shanty town.
Okay. Look, there was always going to be a done deal.
I'll get paid for you for this, don't worry. It won't be what the Order of Magica could offer.
See if you can take one of the smarter looking ones alive as well. It would be good to talk to them.
Oh yes. Especially if we can get the one they call Red Eye himself.
Yep, that would be the person to target. We like pay is nice, but eliminating a cult is nice. But for us, I think actually some answers is probably the main motivation. And the pay.
All right. Then we have a deal. Get yourself to the south gate at dawn tomorrow. Or an hour before dawn. I'll have horses waiting for you.
Okay.
Good luck.
Will do, sir.
He turns and clearly is kind of like, occupied with reading some reports and, expects you to see yourself out. And another comment made in chat. Yes, indeed. And you know what? Let's flag it up. It's not a close-up picture of him, but there is a picture of Marvello in Wrath of the Warden talking to the witches when they arrived at the gate. There is also, you'll be excited to know, a proper portrait picture of Marvello in a later installment in the campaign, which does not look at all like how I've described him.
Oh.
So that's a shame.
I suppose. So we'll get out. I wonder, do I? I'm gonna, on our way out, I will just shoot Derek a glance, but carry on back towards, I don't know, the center of town, given we don't know where we're going these days.
I believe there was. I believe the other thing. What were the other things we wanted to do today? There was meeting Serex in the evening. Was there anything before then?
There was not.
I have a thing to add to the list.
Mm-hmm.
As we are walking back, I'm going to go to one side with Anton. Father, I understand that we are going to Blackmore for one particular purpose, but Blackmore and places like it are full of many people in very desperate situations. I was wondering whether you think the church would perhaps put some support behind some amount of aid to the people. I doubt Erebus will be happy with it, as it's fewer people buying from his shops and less to tax and less money going in his pocket. But perhaps if we could ease the hunger in the stomachs of some children, do you think the church might help?
This is sounding like a very noble cause, Sadar, but I fear that the aims that you've spoken of are more aligned with the heretic Father Salvola than of the Sun Church as an institution. However, the Sun Church is always keen to expand its reach. And so there is potentially scope for me to inquire about an outreach to that town and to see what can be done there. I hope that gives some solace to the poor, hungry children of that place.
Thank you, Father.
Okay. So is there anything else we want to do before your meeting with Serix in the evening?
I'm going to go to the market and buy a bottle of very strong liquor.
Sure. That seems,
and a ribbon.
That seems pretty probably a good thing to go for. Yep. So did we agree on where you were meeting Serix? Was it at the agency?
Yes.
It was. Okay. That's absolutely fine. In that case, unless anyone wants to do anything else, I'm happy to jump to the evening and to jump to did he did say he was meeting with you, but I got the impression that the other four of you were intending to come along.
Well, we're staying at the agency right now anyway. I think I would like to not be present.
Sure.
Me too.
I'm happy to be in the room within earshot of the conversation, but not necessarily part of the conversation, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think Serix has any beef with me.
Yeah.
And it might
Sure.
be interesting to, like, assuming that Aaron's okay with that, with me just sitting nearby. If you'd rather I didn't, I can just go somewhere else.
I think I would be happy with it.
Fair enough. So you find yourself, he'll meet you just in the common room of the agency, right? So I think what we have there, if you just clarify that for me, is like, so Steo's just off somewhere else entirely. Alindra's sat nearby. Anton, how about you? Sorry, did you say?
Yeah, I'm making myself very scarce as well.
Very scarce. Okay, and I think it's safe to say that Askarai will do. We'll do the same as well, essentially. Yeah, you enter the common room. It is, a fair few people are around drinking. Elindra, let's say you enter as well and go to a table nearby. Over in one corner, with most people giving him a fairly wide berth, is Serix Atio, who is obviously already in his cups. And is just sat with kind of his sword leant up against the wall on one side and one leg like hefted up on a bench near him. And as you kind of approach, he pulls his leg off the bench and kind of pushes it out with his foot so you have something to sit on.
I will take the bench and put the bottle of O'Dave liquor on the table in front of him.
He kind of wordlessly looks at that and then nods, kind of pushes his wine sack over to one side, gets another cup off a shelf nearby, puts them down, opens up the liquor and pours some for him and for you. A copious amount. It's a liquor that's usually more used for sipping, but Serix Atio doesn't sip things. He kind of pushes it with a grinding sound across the wood towards your side of the table.
I will take it and sip it.
Sure. He knocks it back, gives a sort of appreciative noise. All right. And I don't say this often, Dar. The situation clearly got out of control. Mihira's going to be running a tight ship from here on in after Erok. We all have to make nice and play nice. And that's not to say that you and your friend... We need a resolution to this. You've got some kind of friends in the church. Kargoy doesn't want to make waves. In either direction. If he stops what has been done, there are problems. If he carries on with what he's doing, clearly there are problems. Parley. Can you talk for whoever you're working for?
Personally, I think if you would agree, then perhaps Father Anton and Steo would be better placed.
That's fine. They're fine. Look. They're digging into my friend. I've got nothing against them personally. So how about you bring your new companions, bring the old man, the priest, the changeling, bring her over there, who I don't know if she thinks I can't see her.
I don't think she's trying to hide.
Just kind of nod and stay sitting where I am.
3 days' time. Kargoy's house. You don't have my word that this will all end without blood. But you have my word that you will leave his house that night without any harm done. And I might not be good for much, but I'm still good for my word.
I believe you. Serix, is Kargoy in trouble? I don't mean from us, I mean...
He's got friends in high places. So yes, he's in trouble. Pillar and post, Dar. That's all any of this is. One of them gets hold of you, then another one will, and they'll pull you apart. Maybe it's too late. But you want my honest advice? The advice of an old drunk with a lot of blood on his hands?
Yes.
You get out of Thistlehold, Dar. And you pick a direction. And you ride as fast and as far as you can go. He takes another cupful of the liquor, knocks it back, stands up, taps on the table. 3 days.
Thank you.
Turns and walks out of the agency. And I think that is a good place to leave our session. Not with a cliffhanger. I couldn't make our way to a cliffhanger tonight, but with quite an impactful little interaction, I think. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And thank you, obviously, to my players for playing. Before we get into comments and questions, and please do throw those in the chat if you have any, I will get the promo out of the way, the last Symbaroum promo of the year. So check below for links. There's links to our YouTube and to our Twitch. You're watching on one. Please check out the other. Please also check out the links to our social media, our Discord, which has a lovely little community on it. Come join us. Our Patreon, where you can buy tasty treats for supporting us further. We normally run 3 weekly series. Each of them starting at 8 o'clock p.m. GMT. Mondays is typically Shadows of Estrin. That's kicking off again in the new year. Wednesdays is Symbaroum. This is the last one for the year, but we will be back with you on, let me look, January the 5th. So we've got 2 weeks off over Christmas, and then we'll be back. Thursdays is World of Darkness. That's a kind of high concept anthology series where we're hopping between the different systems of that. We're currently on Wheel of the Apocalypse. The second episode of that is happening tomorrow, which will be our final actual play stream of the year. So come join us for that as well. We also run one-shots on the first weekend of every month, the most recent of which was Alien, a sequel one-shot actually to one we did right back at the beginning of 2021. Those are usually available over on our YouTube after a short amount of time, so go check those out. There's lots and lots of different ones. The next one will be on the first weekend of, will it be the first weekend? It actually will probably be the weekend of the 8th of January. And that's going to be Cyberpunk 2020, which Sam is going to be running. Exciting times. And I'll also briefly mention, we haven't nailed it down fully yet, but there will be, even though we're on hiatus next week, there will actually be a stream. It'll be a special Christmas chat kind of stream. It's probably going to happen this Monday, but we'll nail that down by the end of the week. But please do join us for that festive occasion. We had a follow from Cookie. Thank you very much for your wonderful name and also for your follow. And it's worth noting, thank you to everyone who follows us on YouTube, because we hit 500 subscribers this week on YouTube, which is one of those numbers that sounds very big and important, but also is only halfway to the biggest YouTube milestone of all, which is being able to monetize the damn thing. So please tell your friends about us. Good stuff. John, what have we got in terms of comments? Electro Druid, I'm mostly stuck on how good a name for a band Hemlock Vindaloo is. Pretty good. Pretty good.
That's also the episode title right there.
Yeah.
It is.
Or also just Nightshade Rogan Josh. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
That's the singer. That's the singer of Hemlock.
Nightshade Rogan Josh.
Yeah.
Front person of Hemlock Vindaloo.
Absolutely. What else we got, John?
We've got
Azimuth, hey Steve. Tavern Nightmares. Can't wait for Dark Fantasy Gordon Ramsay to turn up. Yeah. Just him with Alamar. Are you fucking stupid? 2 bits of beef slapped on the side of his head. What are you? Yeah.
Do you make sandwiches with beef instead of bread?
You do in the barbarian pub.
Fantasy Gordon Ramsay would.
Yeah. It's been known.
We've got, this was like in context of absolutely nothing, but this guy was spamming some absolute brilliant puns on Monday, and Chris needs to see this one.
Just some guy. Welcome. Did you know the best place to have a seance is beside a river? You need furry water mammals nearby to contact the otter side.
Boo.
Don't boo otters. But boo puns. That's fine. That's fine. What else we got, John?
It's from me.
One from you. I know someone who once threw up so hard they dislocated a rib.
Thanks, John.
I have felt that way. I won't tell a whole story in detail, but like, because it grosses people out stuff. So I once had food poisoning so bad that, like, I think a lot of people think the term projectile vomiting is an exaggeration, and let me assure you, it definitely is not. Yeah, you can do target practice with that stuff. It's awful.
I feel like we should put, when we put this on YouTube, a content warning for.
Sure.
I can't remember what the word
Yeah.
is, but
Don't let Matt just talk about bodily functions, or he has no filter. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Sauerkraut Kid, welcome. I know of at least 2, but how many wrestling tees does Matt own? Quite a few. Maybe 7 or 8, 5 or 6, something like that.
I can think
But yes,
of 4.
well recognised. DIY, one of the
Between
best tag
4 and
teams of
8.
the last 10 years. Yeah. There we go. While everyone else looks, Chris is shaking his head. He watches wrestling with us. He's just
Yeah, but I have the good decency to be ashamed of it.
42. Will there be Christmas carols in the Christmas stream? I don't have huge amounts of control over it. 42. But if I have anything to do with it, absolutely not. But I don't have everything to do with it. So could we do that, Chris? Will you do a song for us on the Christmas stream?
Oh, what's the most grim Christmas-related murder ballads? I've got to. Yeah, let me do some research.
Sure.
Is it
Yeah.
that one
Chris,
about
there
the
you go.
time?
Chris will do a song for us. You could
Is
do,
it that-
you could do Monday, right, Chris? That was one of the days you could do, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. We'll have Chris will do a Christmas song for us.
Surely there must be a
Christmas
song about. Surely there must be a song about how the English came and killed us
Killed
all on
people on
Christmas
Christmas.
Eve.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I mean, you can take your pick. Vote now. Infanticides, familicides, like just death at sea,
Projectile vomiting.
Like, folk music is just a massive variety of different ways to get
Panoply
killed.
of horribleness.
Yeah.
Just take
Yeah.
any Irish folk tune and find a place to fit in Christmas as a rhyme, and we're golden.
Steve, brave choice to have the special festive Christmas episode of Symbaroum with everyone throwing up. Yeah, well,
It's the reason for the season.
tis the season for everyone to get a bit queasy. Yeah, absolutely.
That's
have we
everything
got-
from chat.
Is that everything? That's everything. Yeah, because we did have the. There was. I still love the stuff. Prios, you're amazing.
Still, probably comment of the year.
Yeah,
it's
I think
so
that one
good.
might reoccur a couple of times.
Yeah, your prayer is important. Please hold. Loved it. Cool. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, but thanks so much for joining us this year for Symbaroum, right? If you've joined us through all the way through the year, wonderful. If it's just for a bit of it, also wonderful. It's all good. But we are now 16 months into our Symbaroum campaign. Which is mildly unbelievable as I freeze ridiculously on screen. There I am again. Yes, 16 months into this. So thank you so much for following us this year and for supporting this. We'll see you certainly at least once more this year. We'll see you tomorrow night for Cincinnati Chronicles World of Darkness. And next week there should be a Christmas stream of some form. So please join us for those. But again, thank you so much for your support during 2021. We've come on leaps and bounds this year, both in terms of the boring stuff like follower numbers and in terms of the things we've done. So we hope you've enjoyed us through 2021, and we'll see you twice again this year, but also next year, in case you only watch Symbaroum, which is fine. Thanks everyone. Take care. Have a good festive season.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.